And welcome to the Technology Geek Podcast. I'm your host, Brandon Lapani, the Technology Geek, and we are here as we are every week to talk computers, the internet, smartphones, pretty much anything geek that we talk about here every week in the Technology Geek. This is our 37th podcast, and like I said, you can follow us always on our Twitter at LapaniTech, and always as well on our website, thetechnologygeek.org. So we have a lot to talk about this week, as we always do, regarding technology and all that. But first of all, let's give a shout out to our first sponsor, our buddies over at ManGrate. Wonderful grilling system they have. If you want great steaks cooked just wonderfully, and it's a superior grilling system. It's a really great grilling system. They're cast iron, made right here, folks, right here in America, and they're just amazing when you cook and then you take them off. You can wash them. They're so well made. They're such a great, tender, juicy steaks they make. It really is a superior grilling system, and I recommend it for anybody. And those are our buddies over at ManGrate. And we just took those guys on as a sponsor, probably maybe a month ago or so. And let me tell you, when I spoke to those guys about getting them as a sponsor, and that we really wanted to have them on the Technology Geek podcast, and I'm gonna tell you, I really talked to those guys, and their customer service over there was just phenomenal and excellent. And we're really lucky to have them as a sponsor, and we're really happy to have them as a member of our show. So that's, of course, our buddies over at ManGrate, mangrate.com, and use our sponsor code TechGeek, TECHGEEK, and you'll get a discount off of your first purchase. So we'll go ahead and get the credit for it, so we can keep the site up and running and keep doing these wonderful podcasts every week. So a lot of other news as well going on, folks, in the world of technology. My opinion, some of the biggest news, obviously, of the week is Mr. Larry Ellison. Larry Ellison steps down as CEO of the Oracle company. I'm not going to lie, folks, I was very shocked about this. I've actually always looked up to Larry really as he's just a great CEO and just a guy that really knew in the industry, of definitely a big pioneer as far as the tech industry goes. Him, obviously, Jobs, Gates, they all started at the same time. Obviously, he's 70 now, so obviously, he's looking at his age, and he's, kind of stepping down a little bit, and probably going to do other things besides run Oracle. But Larry Ellison, obviously stepping down. Everybody knows he's a big yacht guy, and he does a lot of things. Obviously, a lot of purchases he made over the course of his career with Oracle. Obviously, just a few to name. Obviously, Open Office. Obviously, as well, Sun. Java. And just a lot of other major acquisitions, and obviously he obviously picked up. I think he tended to surround himself with good people. His whole career. Obviously, the guy from HP that they were going to fire due to a situation with sexual harassment, he's taking over obviously now as CEO and all that. So that was obviously major news, obviously, in industry. But as everybody knows, he really surrounded himself with good people. Obviously, Steve Jobs and him were close friends. I believe they were next door neighbors. I remember there's an infamous story about how Steve Jobs' peacock would always wake him up in the morning and all that. And then obviously when Steve Jobs took over Pixar, there was stories about how he would always argue with Steve, because Steve would always make him watch Toy Story all the time because the shading was better and all that type of stuff. And he sounds like he always had a lot of great Silicon Valley stories. But obviously he's 70 now, so obviously probably looking to relax and enjoy retirement. Not stepping down at all as chairman of the board or anything like that, just stepping down as the CEO in the day-to-day operations of Oracle. But obviously, Larry Ellison, synonymous, obviously, with with Oracle, and obviously because it was his start. People don't realize, obviously, there's a lot of things he did with Oracle. First of all, really heavily pushing them hard to go cloud-based when a lot of other companies didn't want to put their software cloud-based. He pushed very hard. Obviously, Salesforce, he worked very hard with those guys. And just a lot of things he did over the course of his career, as CEO. I mean, just name a few of them. And, a lot of people don't know as well, Oracle obviously named after the Oracle project, which was the CIA database. Well, the Oracle's really first customer is where the company was actually named after. So just a lot of, a lot of memories with him. Obviously a real pioneer in the Silicon Valley area. And did so many big things. Obviously, he was big into yachting. He actually was on the Oracle yacht team for many times. Obviously, paid a lot to actually be on build one of Oracle's yachts that used to compete in that. He was obviously very involved with that. Obviously, we all remember too. A couple of years ago, he had a fairly large purchase of an island that he had. Wanted to purchase. He purchased actually one of the largest islands, obviously in the private islands purchased in history. So just a lot of news with him, a lot of things he's done over the years. And it's really cool to see him maybe enjoy his retirement or do something a little different. But definitely Oracle, I'm sure he'll be in the picture. Obviously, he still owns, I believe, a third of the shares of the company. So obviously, he'll still be heavily, a large owner, and he'll still, I'm sure, be involved in some way, shape, or form. I mean, he's still going to be chairman of the board, but obviously stepping down from the day-to-day operations of Oracle. But he would definitely be missed. Obviously, Oracle has seen a little bit of a revenue slip over the years, but you can't really blame him for all that. Obviously, the economy and some other things happened as well. So, obviously, the cloud computing, and that's the thing too. He was really, if you read a lot of his earlier books. From the mid to late 90s, he was a big advocate of cloud computing back then. Obviously, he always said, Microsoft Server Client was just, a thing. It was. He said it was, it was because of dial-up. Because at the time, everybody didn't have high speed. He said many times, that the whole server client thing was going to go away, and that everybody was going to be cloud computing, was going to use the browser and all that. He was really ahead of his time as far as cloud computing and things of that nature went. But obviously, I mean, if you read any of his old books from the 90s, he even said, as soon as everybody gets high speed in their house, everybody will go cloud based. And he really was dead on with that, because as as soon as everybody did go cloud based, once everybody got high speed, a lot of things did go in cloud based. He was saying that in the early to mid to late 90s, and he was always saying that. So definitely was ahead of his time. Really, obviously bright guy, but stepping down. But just a lot of things he just really pioneered in the industry, and he was always like that, ahead of the game. And as most people know, a lot of the bigger companies do run on Oracle. I know Amazon, a fairly large company, as retailer, they started out using Oracle, as well as a lot of other big online retailers. I know a lot of the banks use them, and a lot of MasterCard and stuff like that, and just a lot of large companies do use their products. And a lot of people don't realize as well, a lot of people say, well, who does Oracle really compete with? And when you really look at who Oracle's competition is, Oracle really isn't competing with companies like Microsoft. They're really competing with more like an IBM. I remember years ago, Oracle actually wanted to buy HP and push themselves hard into the server market and stuff like that. So, obviously Oracle made, a fairly huge company, and obviously, of course, definitely will have great leadership, of course. But like I said, under Ellison's watch, they always did really well. So obviously, he's stepping down. That was big news this week, and that news broke obviously Friday. So some other news as well. Obviously on Friday, obviously big news. Obviously the iOS 8 release, as well as the iPhone 6. Apple, obviously a big sale for them, of course. I believe, if I have my numbers in front of me, which I do, they sold 10 million iPhone 6 and 6 as well. So the iOS 8 had a lot of lot of updates and stuff that I thought were really cool. But in my opinion, the big one, obviously, is the addition of new keyboards. Obviously, swipe and all that being added. Stuff that we've all been asking for a very, very long time, obviously, are now included. Not included with the iPhone, because the iPhone still doesn't have it natively. But you can download third-party keyboards, which is something that everybody's been asking for quite a while now. So that was obviously big news. And obviously, of course, the iPod Classic obviously now is done. I'm kind of sad to see the Classic go. It was my first iPod. It was really cool for its time, really innovative, but it was definitely time to go. You kind of believe though that Apple kind of forgot about it. If you really look at it, Apple really. I don't know. It seems like there was like one of those things like, oh, whoops, we forgot to do that. So obviously they went ahead and ended it. The iPod Classic. It really is a shame to see it go. I mean, it was a tremendous amount of storage. Mine was 30 gig, but I remember they had, I think it was like the 120. And once I saw the iPod Touch and the iPod, or the iPhone come out and the iPad, I kind of figured it was going to be dead in the water. But you can still get the Nanos and stuff like that, I believe, are the Classics. So, or you still get the Nanos, I believe. I don't know what other one. I think that's the only one you can still get, but the Classic is going to be gone now. So. But some other things as well, too. Apple doing a lot of stuff. Obviously, U2, their new album, exclusively on iTunes. That's a huge news for anybody. A lot of people, really shocked about that. They released an album exclusively just for iTunes. I have a feeling, as with the way Spotify and things of that nature are really picking up steam, I have a feeling it wouldn't surprise me if Apple continues doing that, where they continue throwing, things like that up. We'll pay you to release your album exclusively on iTunes. I wouldn't. Big bands, big companies, big labels. I wouldn't be surprised if they do that with some of the bigger labels. But definitely something new that Apple's doing, where they're going to try to get bands to release, exclusive content. Obviously, you have the iTunes Festival and stuff like that as well. So it wouldn't really surprise me if they go ahead and really do stuff like that now to really try to really, get people to go to them. So some other news as well, big news as far as acquisition goes. Obviously, Microsoft buying Minecraft, that's huge. A lot of people don't realize that is one of the reasons why Microsoft did that was, one, because the game is obviously huge, and obviously Microsoft, definitely has a good acquisition in that. There's no doubt about it. But the other reason as well, too, you have to realize with Microsoft, obviously buying Nokia and things of that nature, they had some overseas cash that if they bring it, back into America, they're going to have to pay taxes on. So a lot of people say they had about $2 billion left in overseas cash, and they figured if they spend it rather than pay cash on it, pay tax. So they went ahead and they did that, so they wouldn't have to pay taxes on it. But definitely a huge acquisition for them. I definitely think it's going to be a good purchase for Microsoft. That as well as Skype, obviously huge brand recognition stuff that they purchased over the last couple of years. Microsoft seeing as trying to purchase companies with ready built names and stuff like that, rather than try to build their own competition. I think it was a good move for them. Obviously, the guy that started Minecraft, obviously started it it started as a very small company and grew now. Acquiring them, acquisitioning them, and obviously I'm sure going to probably do some really interesting things and really great things with them. We'll see what happens, as time progresses, but that was big news for Microsoft as well this week. Some other things as well too, as far as acquisition goes. Obviously, Adobe acquiring a photo editing platform. That was big news this week. They acquired Vari, I think the name of it is. Basically, it's a company that allows you to build, APIs and stuff for photo editing. Well, it looks like Adobe acquired them now, so that was major news as far as acquisition goes. And obviously, Yahoo buys up a BookPad for cloud editing. That was actually an Indian-based startup. They actually purchased them as well this week. So, fairly huge acquisitions. Some news, though, coming out of Apple as far as something they acquired. A lot of people are saying Apple is going to shut down Beats. Again, that's just a rumor right now. They haven't said yes or no about it yet, but it looks like maybe not the headphone piece, but I believe the streaming piece they're going to shut down. That or they're going to bundle it with iTunes. Either way, it looks like Microsoft Apple may be perhaps going to take take their acquisition and you split it off, divide it up, take the technology and get rid of the name, or do something with the streaming media piece of it. So that actually came as pretty big news on TechCrunch, and TechCrunch is usually a pretty reputable source. I'm not exactly sure what Apple's going to do because there's always a lot of Apple rumors, but there definitely is rumblings of that possibly happening, where Apple actually could just say, "Hey, we're going to include streaming in iTunes," and just kind of trash Beats. If they did that, that wouldn't surprise me. But a lot of companies have picked up on that. That's what Apple might do. They might keep the headphones, but they might just get rid of the Beats music service itself. So some other things as well. Somebody sent this to me. They're saying, don't forget to remind your fans of the show, saying that Colin Farrell lands leading role in True Detective on HBO series True Detective. I've never really watched that show. I know Matthew McConaughey was in it the last time I checked, and there was somebody else in it as well. I haven't actually really watched it, but maybe I'll take a look at it now that there's some social media news going on about him being on there. I'm a fan of his, but I'm not sure. I never actually watched the show. Maybe I'll take a look at it and see what's going on with it. But that was somebody sent me that. They said don't forget to tell your fans about that. Some other news, some other things as well too. Messing around a little bit today with my tablet and my iPhone. I actually noticed that you can actually was streaming Nikki Sixx, the Sixth Sense, his radio show on iHeartRadio. Is actually streaming it on my Chromecast through my stereo system in my living room. So that was pretty cool as well. I really like the Sixth Sense. He has a really cool. Nikki Sixx is a great radio show. Anybody that likes rock music, or it's not just classic rock. He throws in classic, a little bit of new and stuff like that. It actually is a really good radio show, and he's actually got his own channel on there called on iHeartRadio called The Sixth Sense. iHeartRadio, it's a free app. It actually is really well, and I really like it. And if you're interested in, go ahead and download it. It's a free app, but if you listen to his radio show, it's actually really cool. I like it. So some other stuff as well. Talking about the news, a little more stuff on the news. Let's FCC, obviously from my ham radio buddies, turning down petition to create a 4-meter ban here in the U.S. We have the 2-meter ban, the 6-meter ban, but we don't have anything. We don't have a 4-meter ban, and I guess the ARRL was working very hard on trying to get us a 4-meter ban here in the U.S., but apparently that did not happen. So just so everybody knows that those guys, ham radio buddies, that were actually looking to actually go ahead and get a 4-meter ban, doesn't look like that's going to be happening anytime soon. Some other news as well as far as ham radio goes. Then I'll skip over to a couple other things. Obviously, there'll be a simulated emergency test set for the weekend of October 4th and 5th. So any ham radio operators that listen to that. And believe it or not, I know we have quite a few that actually listen to this show. We have a lot of ham radio operators actually listen to this podcast, and those of you guys know obviously that they're going to be an emergency simulation 4th and 5th weekend. But some other stuff as well. Jumping back over to the iPhone and iOS, I should say. Microsoft telling users of the new iOS 8 if they sign up, they'll get a bump. They get an extra, I believe it's an extra 15 gig. Let me pull up my notes here. But they're saying if you sign up with your iOS device, you'll actually go ahead and get additional OneDrive space, which is really cool. And apparently, if you sign up, Microsoft's offering a new OneDrive user 30 gigabytes of free drive space, up from its 15 gigs of traditional space. So that's kind of neat. One storage, storage. Obviously, Microsoft. OneDrive, obviously competing with Google Drive, Dropbox. They're not offering any iOS target markets anything. So it looks like Google's trying to and Dropbox are, trying to compete, or they're trying to compete to get people off of Google. Obviously, Google offers all users 15 gigs. Dropbox offers 2 gigs with their free plan. So it looks like they're actually trying to go ahead and compete with the other. Microsoft, they've got enough money in the bank, they can do that. I'm actually surprised Google doesn't offer more, actually, to tell you the truth. But so some other stuff going on as well that was kind of news. Google Plus accounts no longer needed for new Gmail users. That was in the news this week as well. Some other stuff as well going on. Like I said, we're talking about iOS quite a bit. Obviously, there's the 2 major keyboard manufacturers, SwiftKey and Swipe. Obviously, 2 of the most downloaded apps this week from the App Store. Obviously, because people were waiting so long for that keyboard. So, but that was the difference between SwiftKey and Swipe. Not a whole lot of difference, but they both do about the same. But they both are good. Swipe you have to pay 99 cents for. SwiftKey is actually free. Some other stuff as well that was in the news this week, talking about online television, which I thought was kind of neat. Talking about where do people go to watch the majority of their television. That was actually kind of a neat thing I actually read about. And apparently they polled 2,400 people. And apparently 38% of people said they actually go to YouTube to watch their latest TV show. So that was kind of neat. Obviously 33% of people said they watch Netflix for their television. 17% of people Hulu. 14% obviously Amazon Prime. One thing too, it says the bottom note, this doesn't mean that the time spent watching TV on Google's massive site necessarily extends time spent on any of the other services. So, but I thought it was kind of cool that people really flock there. One thing I noticed, I didn't see anybody say iTunes. I don't know if it wasn't an option or what, but obviously they're a fairly large player in that market as well. Some other news as well. Some other things talking about apparently on the Amazon forums, there's been some rumbling. Amazon looking for new authors. Apparently, they're going to have a voting system coming fairly soon, where new authors can publish their books obviously for free, like they've been offering, an author platform. And apparently, there'll be people who have to rate it. And after so many ratings and so many votes, Amazon will actually go ahead and publish the book and give it some actually mainstream press on their website. So that was kind of neat. We'll see how that works out. Obviously iBook has and Apple has their own version. I'm not sure if they're pushing it as hard as Amazon is, but they have something a little similar to that. So we'll see how that plays out. Some other things as well that I thought was kind of neat. Skype obviously getting a new friendly update, interactive notifications, all that stuff. Obviously the notifications bar in iOS 8, obviously really big because now you're allowed to add widgets. I know Audible has one, and I know Yahoo Weather has one, and I know there are a couple others. The widget's still lacking behind a little bit, I think. Not so much Apple's fault as the developer's fault, but obviously the notifications widgets, really popular thing right now in Apple's ecosystem. Obviously something new. You've never been able to add widgets before, so a lot of people really jumped on the bandwagon with that, but I think the app support still has a little bit yet to go. So something else I thought was neat. Obviously, Europe's hackathon in London, obviously sponsored by TechCrunch. That's going to be going on fairly recently, I believe. Let me check the date on that. I have that actually in my notes to talk about that. And it looks like it will be. The dates have not been. Here we are. October 18th, and presentations will be on the 19th. So the actual hacking thing will begin on the 18th at 12:30 p.m. and presentations will begin at 11 a.m. and that will be over in London. And obviously, it's sponsored by TechCrunch. And it's obviously the winner will get $5,000 prize from TechCrunch, and that is obviously something that's been This is their second year of doing it. And you have 20 hours to build a working concept and launch it on a stage following an all-night programming team. It actually is really cool. There'll also be API workshops and contests conducted for APIs, things like that. So, but actually it's kind of a neat thing that happens every year. And the second year for it, actually. And it's actually pretty neat. It's something that, like I said, TechCrunch does overseas. It's actually really cool. I kind of like it. So something else as well that kind of came up as well. Somebody sent me a message letting me know that Windows 9 will release on October 9th. Again, that's Windows 9. There'll be the first preview of it. The first good preview of it will be on October. That's what they're saying, and that's Windows 9. We're going to get a first good look at it. I have heard it from a lot of other places, but they said October is when the first time we'll get the first real look from Microsoft at Windows 9. So some other news as well. Yahoo obviously fixing SQL injection vulnerability escalated from remote code execution. Obviously that was in the news. Obviously Yahoo had to really jump on that. They were really desperate. Some other things as well. Avira antivirus. There's a vulnerability and it puts users' online backup data at risk. That was in the news this week as well. And apparently, what would happen is there was a vulnerability. Actually, a 16-year-old security researcher found it from Egypt as vulnerability. It's a cross-site scripting vulnerability that actually allows people to actually access your backup files. Looks like they've actually gone ahead and actually fixed it now. It was reported on the 21st of August, and it looks like they reportedly have fixed it. But that was actually in the news as well. Adobe releases, obviously, critical security update for Acrobat and Reader. That was in the news. And obviously, there was a malicious Kindle ebook that was letting hackers take over your Amazon account. This was actually pretty interesting when I saw this come up. And what was actually happening, it was using cross-site scripting to allow people to actually compromise your Kindle device. The flaw affects, under manage your content and devices, manage your Kindle services in Amazon's web-based Kindle library, which could allow a hacker to inject the hidden malicious lines of code into ebook metadata, and which would actually cause the problem. So that was actually it, and it looks like it has actually been fixed. And like I said, thankfully the exploit only affects users who download pirated ebooks, but like I said, apparently it did actually work, and they are going to patch against it anyway, but it only affects people that actually download malicious ebooks. So if you don't do that, nothing to worry about. So one thing I want to do, folks, is we'll call out, I just want to do a shout out to another one of our sponsors real quick. Obviously our friends over there at ProXPN, our buddy over there at ProXPN, wonderful company over there at ProXPN. We're really lucky to have them as a sponsor. Use our coupon code, and you actually get a percentage off of the lifetime of your membership. Again, our coupon code TechGeek, TECGEK, and that's ProXPN, and they are a VPN, a cloud-based VPN solution. And I'm telling you, if you're going to be doing any type of banking online, anything where you got to keep your security safe, you need to use a VPN, especially if you're going over the Wi-Fi at a place like any place like Starbucks Wi-Fi, or even if you're just doing your banking over your iPhone, you should definitely go through a VPN, and that's ProXPN, and they are a wonderful company. And again, go ahead and use our offer code TechGeek, TECGEK, and you actually get a percentage off the lifetime of your membership. So you can't complain. You're actually getting a great value for your money there. And all you got to do is type in our coupon code, and this way we get the credit for it, and you get the discount. So obviously every week, folks, we do our call-in section of the show. Obviously, as always, the phone number 570-630-0744. Again, the phone number 570-630-0744. And again, you'll get a voicemail box, and you actually go ahead and leave your message, and we will answer the following week on the air. Again, folks, it's not a live call-in line. So if you call in right now, you're not going to get, hey, it's Technology Geek, you're on the air. It's going to actually be a voicemail box, and you're going to actually, leave a message and we'll get back to you kind of thing. So first of all, folks, it's open line, so you can talk about anything you want to talk about, anything at all. You want to ask me a question, ask me anything is all. It's open line. The only rule I have is no bad language. That's the only rule I have. Besides that, it's anything goes. So we have our very first question this week from actually this is a friend of mine that actually called in, but he wanted to know, what series do you watch on Netflix? Well, that's actually I've been trying to watch series more than movies because I like the character depth and stuff of that nature. But I did watch all of Dexter, which I never saw any of Dexter at all. I did watch all of Dexter on there. I have watched all of Revolutions on there, which, by the way, season 2 just got added. So I have watched all of House on there, which I've watched House from day one, but I rewatched the entire series of House on there. And I have started watching Breaking Bad. I'm just getting into it. I just got past the first season, so I'm on the second season of Breaking Bad right now. And I'm trying to think what else Alphas. I also watched the entire season of Alphas on there. So I'm slowly getting through the series. I don't have a ton of time to watch series, but I'm slowly getting through there. But I have to tell you, probably out of all the ones I've watched on Netflix so far, Dexter, I think, was definitely the best. Loved it. I can't get enough of it. I was sad the way it ended. I think they could have ended it so much better. I don't want to give the ending away, but they could have ended it so much better. And if you really want to watch a good series, go ahead and watch Dexter on Netflix. It was really, really good. What other show was on there as well that I watched? Definitely Alphas was definitely good. It's a short series too. Alphas was definitely very, very good. House is really good on there. The first season of Revolutions was amazing. There's a couple seasons. There's definitely some good. Terra Nova was another one I watched on Netflix that I absolutely loved. I literally binged watched that in like a day. It's only 13 episodes. Another great show. Take your time, watch it. Terra Nova was amazing. I really wish that show didn't go off the air, but those are the series I've pretty much watched on Netflix so far. Obviously, there are some other series that were on there. Pawn Stars and some other stuff that got taken off. Obviously some Stars and Encore content that was on there I watched as well. But definitely, there's so many good series on there, and there's always something to watch on Netflix. Some other questions. Somebody asked, how can I keep my data secure on the cloud? Well, there's a lot of stuff you can do on the cloud to keep your stuff safe. Obviously, strong passwords obviously are a huge thing. A lot of people really don't think about that. Definitely, stronger passwords. You might want to look at something maybe like a password vault, like LastPass or 1Password or Dashline or one of those, KeepPass, one of those type of things. One of the things that I would recommend if you're really concerned about it is obviously two-factor authentication, like what Google offers or what Yahoo offers. Definitely would keep your passwords much safer. And also too, don't answer the security question correctly. I'll never forget, some people were complaining that they keep getting their passwords hacked. Well, a prime example is, I believe it was Lindsay Lohan actually had, what was her dog's name? Well, anybody that's a true fan of hers knows her dog's name. Somebody hacked her password just like that through social engineering. Questions like, your mother's maiden name, street you grew up on, pet's name, stuff like that, it's fairly easy to guess that people might have access to, especially with Facebook being such as popular as it is and social media and all that. So those are a couple things you can try. Besides that, I'm not really sure what else to really, try. So some people are asking as well, are the iOS, alternate keyboards secure? I mean, obviously, as anything else, obviously they do store keystrokes and stuff like that. They send the keystrokes to the developer so they can make the app better. They do store the keystrokes so they can assist you better as you're typing. One thing you will notice with these slider keyboards, they do get smarter as time progresses. That's because they're saving your data and stuff like that, which is fine. I mean, that's what they're supposed to do. They're supposed to, guess the words you're going to use before you use them to make your life more, more, easier and stuff like that. So I would strongly recommend, especially Apple has really gone Apple especially, they did a whole big thing on this on their keynote for the new iOS, that they were going to allow people to use the keyboards outside of other apps, but still keep, the security and the sandbox safe. So I'm going to say, I can't guarantee it's completely secure, but knowing Apple, I'm going to guess security is definitely, they definitely have security in mind, especially since they just made an announcement the other day that they won't be cracking anybody's iPhone for anybody in the NSA or anything like that. So I'm going to say you're probably pretty safe. Another question I have was from another friend of mine. She asked me, what streaming box should I buy? I have to say, we probably answered this question probably a handful of times. And there's so many of them out there, between the Roku, between the Net TV, between Chromecast. I mean, there's so many of them out there. Any of the major services, like, for instance, Chromecast, Roku, any Net TV, they all pretty much do YouTube, Netflix, Hulu, HBO, and they all pretty much do those couple. Chromecast does not do WWE Network. It does not do Amazon Prime Network. Now, Roku tends to do them all, so I like the Roku personally. However, there are things that, that the Roku for a while is limited on, like YouTube. Net TV, obviously a little different. It's a little bit more, limited as far as, it does basically all the basic service. It does pretty much the same thing as the Roku, except there's a few things that they lock out because, if I'm not mistaken, they sell a lot of movies. Same thing with Apple TV. Apple TV kind of locks you out a little bit with certain services because they want to sell you the iTunes. You can still use Netflix, and you can still use quite a few other services, but there are certain things they kind of lock you out of because they want you to buy their stuff. I would say your safe bet would probably be either the Roku, because I don't know if there's anything that really Roku can't do as far as services goes. Roku's a pretty good bet. I would say probably the Chromecast would be a good bet, unless you want to do WWE Network, which it doesn't do. I would say that Apple TV might be a good bet for you if you just want to use Netflix and want to access your iTunes library, because that's something that Roku doesn't do. Roku does not have a way to access your iTunes library. That's an Apple thing. So, I mean, they all pretty much do the major services, except for there's always a little hitch with everyone you got. So it depends on what you want to do. I could probably answer that question a little more and a little more in depth if you want to send me some more information. One of the things somebody says, how can I restore my backup quickly from Carbonite? This person I actually went back and forth with a couple of emails. This was actually an email, wasn't a call-on question. And what this person actually happened is the one computer actually went down. The hard drive itself actually died, and they want to restore it. With Carbonite, if you do actually reload the machine, you can install a Carbonite client and pull the whole thing down from the cloud. It'll download everything back over again, which is great. In this case, though, this person is in a time crunch. So what I actually did have them do was Carbonite actually will send you a portable hard drive with the image on it, and you just re-image the machine. That's what this person's actually doing, because they didn't have their internet was kind of limited. They had a 1 meg DSL, and they were having a little bit of a problem downloading their new stuff onto their new hard drive they just put in. So I strongly recommended to them that they actually go ahead and actually, just have Carbonite send them a hard drive. So they sent them a hard drive, and they just re-imaged the hard drive, and now they're back in business. But yes, Carbonite will actually do that for you. If it's a major system crash and it's a time crunch, they actually will overnight you another hard drive. A portable hard drive with your image. You image it, and then you have to mail the drive back. So that actually is pretty cool. Some other things, another question that's kind of neat. Somebody asked, how do you bookmark my audiobooks? It gets me kind of annoyed when my audiobooks don't actually save the spot they're at. That's actually a fairly common thing. What you have to do is, if you right-click on the file on iTunes, go to Properties, there'll actually be a spot where it says Save. It's actually a spot where it says Save, where you can actually tell it to save your audiobook spot. You actually check that and click on Save. And then, there's another spot in there to check for audiobook, and those two should be okay for you. But I actually ran into a bit of a snag like that myself, and I actually had to go through and kind of figure it out. So The last question of the day I had is, what website hosting should I use? I get quite a few of these messages all the time, so I'm going to address it. It really depends on what you're trying to do. For us, we have designated hosting, because we have dedicated server hosting because we go through a lot of bandwidth. They have VPS hosting. If you're somebody that just wants WordPress hosting, you can probably get that fairly cheap from GoDaddy. If you're looking at something else, there are so many different web hosting companies out there, but I really think that you should. I mean, it really depends on what you want to do. For just a basic starter website, GoDaddy's not too bad. Like I say, if you need designated hosting or something like that, there's so many different hosting companies out there right now. It really depends on what you want to do and how much bandwidth you're going to be using. It really depends on what kind of plan you're going to go with. So that is all for our show this week. I want to thank everybody for listening. Before we go, I just wanted to call out to our last two sponsors. And yes, I have changed it up just a little bit. I'm actually trying to, instead of giving all the sponsors at the beginning and kind of taking up the first 10 minutes of the podcast, which is the sponsors, I'm trying to spread it out a little bit. Obviously, our friends over at Audible, audibletrial.com/techgeek, and they're a really wonderful sponsor. We're glad to have them, and that's our friends over at Audible. And if you like audiobooks, you like listening to any good any type of audiobook at all, just go ahead and use audibletrial.com/techgeek, TECHGEEK, and you get a free one download with our offer. And it really is actually a really good deal, folks. Like I said, you actually get one free audiobook, which an audiobook's $14, maybe $15. So go ahead and sign up. And even if you don't like it, you keep the book. So you just cancel the service. We'll still get the credit for it, and you'll still get that one free audiobook. And that's audibletrial.com/techgeek. And I have not had a book I can't find on Audible that I didn't want to read. So I mean, if go on there, search for the book, and I can tell you, if Audible doesn't have it, I don't think anybody will. So again, that's any audiobook you can think of they have. So again, that's audibletrial.com/techgeek. And our last sponsor, a new sponsor that we just got last week as well, Amateur Radio Supplies. They're a really wonderful company. They have tons of great radio supplies for all amateurs. And if you go to our site, technologygeek.org, and you see on the left-hand side, you see Amateur Radio Supplies, click on the link and bring you through to their site. And this way we'll go ahead, we'll get the credit for that. And again, that's amateurradiosupplies.com. They have tons of wonderful stuff on there. They have wonderful, I've actually used one of their J poles that actually is really, really great. I like all their antennas are phenomenal on that site. They really put a lot of work into make sure they have good quality ham radio products up there, and that's for anybody who's into any type of amateur radio supplies. Those guys at amateurradiosupplies.com, like I say, go to our website and click through. This we'll get the credit for it, and they really are just a really wonderful affiliate. We're really glad to have them. I know we do have a lot of ham radio buddies, a lot of ham radio guys, and a lot of ham radio friends of mine that actually do listen to this show, so we're very grateful for that. But if you guys really want to do some shopping, help support the site, that'd be great. We really appreciate that. I want to thank everybody for listening. Like always, you can find all of our podcasts up on the technologygeek.org. Follow us on our Twitter at LaPannyTech, on Facebook, Google+, and all forms of social media. So I want to thank everybody for listening, and we will see you next week. Thank you very much.